Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica Imperialis and to today's video. It has been many more months than I intended since my last upload. Obviously, things have changed quite a lot since then in many ways, but I wanted to come back today and make a video about something that people have been asking me about in podcasters' comments over the last several months. So, for those of you who are perhaps new to the channel or who don't watch Adeptus Podcastus on the 40k Theories channel, you really should, by the way, I run a Warhammer Club at the school where I'm a teacher. And people have been asking me over the past few weeks how that actually works. If I could make a video giving a bit of advice on how to run a Warhammer Club, because it's one of those things that sounds really cool on paper and something I had when I was at secondary school, but not everyone really knows how to set one up or what resources are available. And so I thought today I would do exactly that and make a video on pretty much how to run a Warhammer Club. Because running a Warhammer Club, I can tell you from personal experience, is a really fulfilling thing, something I really, really enjoy doing. And it's something that's really motivated and interested our students as well at the school that I work at. Now, I wanted to give a few bits of advice along the way, so I'm going to structure this video in kind of three sections. The first section is why. So why would you want to set up a Warhammer Club in the first place? Whether as an educational thing or between you and your friends, whatever, why would you want to do that? We're going to talk about some of the resources available and how you might want to go about setting your club up. And then the section 3 is going to be my personal advice and some experiences that I've had that I thought would be useful to share with you so that when you run your own club, things run relatively smoothly. We've had a great experience at our club, but we have learned a lot of lessons along the way, so I thought I would share them with you as well. So the first thing really is why. Why set up a Warhammer Club? If you're a hobbyist, what is the reasoning for setting a club like this up? Because it's a lot of work and it can be a lot of investment depending on how you choose to run it. Well, the first main reason for me as a teacher was education. There are so many skills that can be taught through Warhammer, whether that be literacy from reading rules, reading lore, reading anything really. There's a lot of literacy and a lot of complicated terms and understanding what certain phrases in the English language mean, or any other language for that matter. You've got the idea of probability and risk management, because sometimes with young people, they might understand the idea you can do a thing, but should you do the thing? What are the odds of that thing going well? So you can teach risk management and then a probability. Should you go for that 9-inch charge where you're probably not going to make it? If you do, this is what probably will happen, but is it worth going for that gamble and making a mistake, or is it worth doing something else instead? Simple addition, being able to roll dice, count, add up numbers, simple stuff really, as well as measurements. So if you're doing basic numeracy, basic literacy, complex literacy even, as well as some life skills like risk management, there's a lot of educational applications there. In addition, social skills. There's a common stereotype that Warhammer players are nerds who are very reclusive, don't have a huge friendship group. We've kind of got past the rednecks in basements, or neckbeards in basements, I think was the phrase. But Warhammer really gives a social outlet to those who maybe don't have one or maybe just want a new one. The camaraderie between the students at our club and the staff who run it is really exceptional. It encourages relationships between different age groups, different social groups, and things like that, as well as the idea of fairness and respect, teaching them or showing them through these interactions how to talk to people, how to show respect, how to be fair and showing good etiquette, and all of those things can be taught through playing games of Warhammer. Maybe not by reading about its lore, but certainly through playing the game. Obviously, for most of us, it's fun. Warhammer has been part of my life for nearly 15 years now, and so it's something that I find exceptionally fun. I'm just looking around on my desk, and there is so much hobby strewn around my desk. Warhammer is fun. And being able to share that passion and that fun of the hobby with the wider world is always great. Being able to build a larger hobby community around you, and therefore you've got more people you can play with, play against, or get the next generation inside so that there's always people going to be carrying it on as you get older, whatever it is. And that's true whether you're an adult or you're a younger person who's looking to set something up at their own school with a bit of help. And as well as that, for someone like me, who is a bit of a hobby butterfly and has bounced around between more projects than I'm willing to admit at this moment in time, it's a way for your models to get a new lease on life. Whether they are loaned out as club armies for students to paint or to game with, or is something that you can use at club while your competitive army that you use at tournament stays at home, or whatever, it gives your models a new lease on life. I can speak from experience here. My orcs had not seen a lot of use for a long time, but now a pile of them sit at Warhammer Club for gaming. The same goes for a bunch of Khorne Bloodbound that I bought off one of my Discord mods who wasn't using it, didn't want it. I bought it off him, took it to Warhammer Club, and now it's our secondary Age of Sigmar army. It gives your models another chance to be used, and for me personally, it gives a chance for more of my models to get painted because I don't have enough time to paint, so giving them to the students allows them to paint them for me, which is a kind of a little bonus perk. So that's some of the reasons you might want to run and set up a Warhammer Club, but how do you actually go about doing it? Because it's all well and good to have an idea, but how do you put that idea into practice? Well, the first thing that I must signpost you to is Games Workshop themselves if you are a member of something like the UK Scouts or you are a member of an educational establishment like a school, because they have Warhammer Alliance. Warhammer Alliance is essentially a resource pack that can be provided every year, and we get it every year as our part of our club, which provides basic models, basic paints, some clippers, and a few other bits of resources like dice to allow for new people to just pick up the hobby and learn with it. The one thing it does not really provide much of is paint. So something that you will have to do if you go through Warhammer Alliance is to provide paints, either through buying starter sets or by just using your own collection. If you are a teacher or a scout leader, you could absolutely apply for this. Details are on the Games Workshop website. If you are a student or a member of a group like that, you would probably need to obviously go to an adult who you think could be trusted to do it for you. Maybe someone you've talked to about Warhammer before, or maybe you've seen them at your local hobby shop and say, "Sir, miss, whatever, I want to start a Warhammer club and I know you're quite interested in Warhammer. Would you be interested in helping me set one up?" That way you can have quite a student-led approach, even though you obviously have members of staff running it. When I was at secondary school, it was a student-run club. Our chief librarian ran it, but it was entirely run by the students. We played our own games, we set everything up. We basically didn't need the staff for anything other than supervision. The club we run at the moment is very much staff-led, but as the students get older and more experienced, they're taking a more active role in managing, setting up their own games, to the point the staff now have mostly taken a backseat and can do our own things or play our own games. If you don't want to go through Alliance, or you are in a position where you perhaps can't, I don't know how available it is, for example, outside the UK, you can absolutely set this up without that. What you will need is the basic resources for any new set of hobbyists. You're going to need a set of models that can be built, painted, and played with. I recommend push-fit models as a starting point. That's what Alliance provides, is push-fit intercessors and push-fit vindictors. So it allows you to build without having to work with glue, complex frames, and all of the things that modern GW product relies on. Painting wise, you will need to supply brushes that you don't particularly care about, because teaching painting etiquette does take time. And you will also need to provide resources such as gaming mats, dice, measurement equipment, whatever. Depending on how many people you've got attending and how experienced they are, you will need to provide more or less of this equipment, depending. For example, if we had 10 new pupils, Alliance pack will be enough, but I still had to provide my own paints. If you know it's going to be you and 5 friends who are already hobbyists, you might just need to provide things like gaming mats and dice, and possibly the core rulebook for those who are new. If you do have new people, you will need to supply new models. And one thing we've found as we're now in our second year of the Warhammer Club at school is we've had to buy in new models through our club budget that we provided through school to get more models so that students have a wider range of models to play with and hobby with, because that keeps the interest up. So that's the how. We've had the why, we've had the how. Now let's get into some of the nitty-gritty stuff, because it's all well and good. You've got your resources, you're ready to run your Warhammer Club. Okay, great. I can speak from experience on this one. If you don't have a plan and you don't have some idea of how you're going to do it, it falls apart very quickly. We were very, very overrun in early weeks with a lack of control, and the number of students that we had, we didn't really have a great system. Something we've worked on a lot is having routines, having systems in place for new people and for old. So, for example, we wrote a Lex Imperialis, a set of rules for students to follow. For example, 1 in, 1 out on paint. To prevent students hoarding up paint or leaving pots open while they worked on another one, then make sure if you're using a paint, great, but when you're done with it, you bring it back and then you get your next one. It prevents paints piling up, prevents paints being unavailable, and has a lower risk of paints drying out. You might also want to introduce etiquette rules, such as you shake hands at the end of a game. You don't just pick models up off a table or off the side without asking permission first, because if they don't belong to you, it's technically just taking without permission. That's not fair. So teaching basic etiquette rules. We have a policy around mobile phones as well and other things like that. Alongside this rules system and any sanctions you put in place, whether it's asking people to leave or whether it's just preventing them from playing for a couple of weeks, whatever you decide, have a reward system. We have used gaming and hobby-based reward systems multiple times as a way to incentivize better quality. So for example, at the moment we're running an initiative where if you score a certain number of points through gaming, painting models, or whatever, you can earn a special model that is yours to work on, yours to name, yours to paint, and yours to get first dibs on playing with. So for example, last year we had a big battle royale and the winner got to paint a Space Marine character that we purchased. This year we bought a Start Collecting or a combat patrol, and whoever gets the first to this many points will get access to the best model in that box of their choosing. So having a reward system incentivizes not only that they keep attending, which keeps attendance up, but also drives up quality. Because one thing that we have really been pushing over the last few months is about quality of painting and of play. So I would really recommend that you don't try to do too much at once. You have your first few weeks of club just be about, this is how you put a basic model together, this is how you paint it, this is how you play the very basic core mechanics of Warhammer 40,000 or Warhammer Age of Sigmar, or both, if you've got enough members of staff to do that. Make sure that you have the basics nailed. So we've spent a few months and we have still not introduced warlord traits, stratagems, relics and artifacts. We have not used them because we are making sure that our members can play the game solidly before we introduce the complex stuff that's more likely to confuse them. We don't do massive amounts of complex army building. We might quickly look at match play points, but we'll usually just eyeball it in order to make sure the games that are roughly fair and make sure they are playing with those mechanics. With painting, there's a lot of subtle painting etiquette that they don't teach you unless you actually teach it yourselves. So for example, there's a fair number of people who I think will get their first model, put loads of paint on their brush and just throw it on willy-nilly. If you're going to teach painting etiquette, using a reward system of this is what a good enough model looks like, this is the sort of things we do to do it, will drive up the quality of painted miniatures, which means that your club armies look better. It means that if you're using your own models, they look better. And it means that the students can really see that progression as they get better and better and are rewarded for it. I think the main 3 points that I really want to hammer home, aside from those, is don't do it alone, don't put it behind a paywall, and just let your natural energy flow through everything you do. I did not actually set up my school's Warhammer Club, despite the fact that I loosely am perceived as the person who runs it. It was set up by other members of staff, and we made a team. There was a team of us who all of us had a job, we knew what we were doing, we knew where we were going, and we flitted around to make sure that all the students were getting access to support, advice, and general management where required. If you've got a club of 5 or 6 new people, you might be able to do it as a one-person show, or if you've got other veteran people in your group, then great. But if you're going to have a lot of new people to Warhammer, so 10 plus people, you are going to need multiple pairs of hands to monitor everything, to make sure they're not knocking the paints over, they're not running around, that they're washing the brush and drying it properly before they put the next paint on, to make sure that they're not arguing with each other whilst playing a game, that you can manage more appropriately. You want to have a team. A team of people, I know it sounds obvious, but make sure you have got your own squad ready to go and you know what you are doing. Plan out those first couple of weeks or first couple of months loosely so you know, right, early on, we're doing this, and we're doing this. By this stage, we want this done. Make a plan and try to follow it. Don't, as I say, try to do everything all at once because you're going to make a lot of assumptions. And with new people or young people who are new to the hobby, you are going to not be able to achieve that unless you get the basics nailed down. We all know that Warhammer is an expensive hobby. Warhammer Alliance is free. So make your club free if you can. Do not put your club behind a paywall if you can help it. The hobby is expensive, and having people pay to come and attend will drive off a lot of people, some of whom would really benefit from the social and educational aspects I mentioned earlier. So make sure your club is free to access if you can. If you have to put it behind a paywall, make it so that it's not just pay to play, make it so that it's like you pay if you're going to paint. So they get the experience of playing the game and using the models, but they may not get to use your painting resources, which do cost, of course, your money. Also, make sure that you have enough club models that students or members can access them without needing to invest themselves. Make sure you have your resources like codices, rulebooks, etc. available on tap. Because if you make people say, nope, you need to buy this and that and this, you need to come with your own army, you need to bring your own books, suddenly, bear in mind the cost of starting a Warhammer army, let's take 40k for example, 1 HQ, 1 troop, 1 codex. Suddenly that's already 70, 80 pounds. And if you do it through a combat patrol, which is the sort of starter boxes for an army, you're already over £100 before you've even started or bought any hobby tools or paints or whatever. So try to minimize the price of entry and the price of access so that you can get more people in. And if they're not interested, they'll leave, which speaks to the last point I made, your personal engagement, energy, and enthusiasm. One of the things that I have noticed is that if you are interested in something, you will make other people be interested. There's a reason why the teachers you often remember when you get older are the ones who were very unique, very entertaining, or had a very interesting manner, or were just different, or really cared about their subject, because their attitudes and their engagement, their enthusiasm bled onto you. It flowed through the room. Let your enthusiasm for Warhammer do the same. Be passionate, be excited, and really try to show them what's going on and say, oh yeah, this is a thing that we do. By the way, have you heard about what these things are? Well, actually, what they do is this, and the way they work is that. And in the story, they actually do this. There's like a character called this who does that. Drive that enthusiasm, especially if you're gaming. My first games at Warhammer Club are always a beat me if you can type of atmosphere. I make it so that the students want to beat me by being cocky and very well Tactica about it. So I drive the enthusiasm that way. It makes them engaged. It makes them want to come back because they want to beat the person they played last week. They want to make that model better. They want to learn more about what's going on or what that character does or what that story you were telling us about. Let your passion for the hobby flow through. If you need some help with that and getting resources available, well, you've got all the different lore videos that are available on social media through channels like mine. If you want to learn the stories that you can tell, you've got the codices you can use as reference points. If you need to do a little bit of reading of your own, you can go on things like Lexicanum, which have got great resource banks for looking stuff up. And just let your personality shine through. Because even if you're someone who you might consider to be socially awkward, reclusive, quiet, the stereotypical Warhammer player, you don't have to be loud to be enthusiastic. You don't have to be over the top engaged, yay, this is amazing, to show that enthusiasm. But just let your natural personality out and you will genuinely keep people coming back. And that's how we've made the club as successful as it is for us. It's something that we enjoy, that the students enjoy, and that is generally regarded as one of, well, certainly one of my favourite activities that I've ever done since I took up education as a profession. So there you go. Those are a few bits of advice, some ideas on how to run a Warhammer club. I'm not saying that this is a foolproof method that you'll just watch this video and know exactly what you're doing, but I hope this gives you some ideas on where you might want to start. Making sure you know what resources are available to you, what some of the common pitfalls are if you're getting started, and some advice to maybe help drive your club's enthusiasm up, engagement and attendance up, and keep it going into the future. If you have any questions, please do let me know down in the comments, and I will do my best to answer whatever I can and try and get a bit more information. If you have your own advice, maybe you run your own club or you run a hobby store or whatever else, please do let us know in the comments as well. What do you do that's made your club so successful, or what pitfalls have you fallen into that you know you could avoid if you did it over again? With that all said though, thank you very much for watching this video. I do hope you have enjoyed it. My name has been Neve from Tactica Imperialis, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.